Okay, I wanted to let you know a little bit about what's in your kit if you haven't picked it up yet, or if you go to pick it up and they give you the wrong kit. Now remember, your kit's going to be really big because in your kit I gave you another one of these big boards that you're going to use as your tabletop. So make sure your kit has that, and then you're going to get this really nice sketchbook. It's a mixed media book, so you'll be able to do some painting in it. So make sure you have that. It's a really nice book. And then also in your kit is, now you should have got a foam brush from your last kit, except for Isabel. I gave you one in your new kit because you're new to the school. So everybody, you guys should, or not to the school, my class. So everybody should have one of these. Hopefully yours isn't messed up and you still have it, it's in good shape, because you're going to want to use it on this project probably. Okay, and then everybody has, I gave you some more popsicle sticks to use. And you've got tape, and we're going to need the tape for a couple different projects. So everybody got a roll of tape. And then you guys got some of this cheesecloth. It's called cheesecloth. And we're going to be using that in a project with, you've got a black piece of poster board. Now this is the paper, this is the poster board. You've got a black poster board that the cheesecloth is going to be used with. So set that aside because we're not doing that right now. You also have black paper that's going to be used with a sheet of, with another sheet of watercolor paper. It's just kind of a rectangle. So that's going to be used with that. You also have some muslin. This is going to be used with the tissue paper. So the tissue paper that you got and the muslin is going to be used for a project. So set that aside because we're not going to use that right now. And then I gave you lots of watercolor paper to do some other projects with. So you've got that. There's my, yeah, and then I found my cardboard there, the black cardboard. Okay, so for this project that we're getting ready to start right now, for this graffiti project, I've given everybody 2 pieces of watercolor paper. Okay, I have one here. So everybody's got 2 of these long, slender watercolor paper. I think I see somebody in their design, they're gonna do theirs vertical, and that's fine too. But what I'm gonna demonstrate is gonna be horizontal. Now, what a good thing to do, especially if you want to do a watercolor wash on it first, is to take the tape and tape it down to your board before you start painting on it. Now, also in your kit is the plastic, to do the stencils with, and I'm going to show you that next. So I'm going to turn the video off now, and then I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with the stencil. Okay, so now I want to show you what I want you to do with the stencil. Now, it's up to you what image you want. Here I drawn a heart, and then I traced that heart on this. Now, everybody that started the school year and you picked up your kit earlier in the year, the beginning of the year, you got this, and it's called Mylar, and it was stencil. It's a stencil material to make stencils, and it looks like that. It's sort of see-through, but it's foggy. So it's like white, but you can still see through it. So you guys should have 2 pieces of this each. Now, if you weren't here at the beginning and you got your kit later, you may not have that. So for everybody, even in the kit you're gonna get right now, I've given you 2 pieces of this clear transparency paper. So you have this. So what I had done there is I took this, I traced it, I used a marker and I traced it, and then I took my matte knife, X-Acto knife, and I cut it out. So because I cut it out, I can use this as a stencil. I could put it on paper. I could take my paint and then paint that heart like that. I can also, if I wanted to, because I cut this out of it, I can use this and I could do a reverse. So I'm going to show you that too, how those will look. So you can do that. So either one of these will work. I do believe this thin paper, you could actually cut with scissors. I think it'll be harder to get inside here, but you could also cut some cool shapes out with scissors and make some edging if you wanted to for your edging stencils. And that'll work too. In fact, I might do that. So it all depends on what your theme is, what it is you want to do with your graffiti piece. So I got to thinking, and it might be cool, and you can use any mediums, remember that, you can use anything. I got to thinking what might be kind of cool is if we drew bricks on here first. You don't have to, but you can. Or you could take watercolor and watercolor the whole thing, give it a wash, let it dry, and then do the stamps over the top of it. You could do that too. So I didn't fix my paint up. I'll do that on a separate video. Right now I'm going to show you how to do the stencil. So I think I'm gonna do, maybe I'll do, I don't know, maybe a little, I don't know what I want to do. Maybe a hand, maybe I'll do a hand. Sort of like a hand that's holding something. This is a thumb. So maybe I'll do a stencil like this and use this for something. I mean, I got an idea to do with my hands. Like my hands holding the heart or something. So I've done that. So now I'm going to take, and I'll take this thin and just trace over it with my marker. And now I want you to make sure you're on a board if you're going to use this matte knife. Make sure you're on a board. You don't want to be on a table because it's going to come through and you're going to mess up your table. So make sure you're on that board. If you've still got your old board, you might want to use your old board for this and use your new board to tape down when you're doing your painting. So now, when you do this, you got to be really careful. These knives are sharp. So see, I've cut that. I'm going to turn it this way. So do it how it's comfortable. Turn the paper, maybe not the blade, or I stand up. I like to stand up when I'm doing this. I just feel like I have more control, and then I could kind of turn my body as I'm trying to turn it. Okay. See, got that. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, see if an adult can help you with this. If you've got your mom, dad, big brother, big sister, aunt, uncle, see if somebody else can help you with this. Maybe you could trace it and then just see if they'll cut it for you. So if you don't feel comfortable doing this, please don't do this. You can use scissors on this material. You're just gonna have to, you'll probably have to cut into it to get to it. And then see how it's not catching just right. You might have to use scissors just to around the edges. But there we go. So now see, I have this piece I could use, and I have this piece I can use. So next, since I've got the heart already cut out, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some things to do with the watercolor with these stamps. Okay, so here's my paint, my watercolors. Here's my sponge brush. Got my water. I got my stencils. Now I just want to show you a couple ways you can do this. So if you've drawn on here and you've planned it out and you know now where you want to put the stencils, you can do that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you a couple different things. One is I could take that stencil just like that. There's my hand. Yeah, I will give myself a blue hand. Do a blue hand. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to paint. Now you have to be careful. Because if that lifts up, then I've went under the stencil. Okay, there. And lift that up. And there's my hand. So that's how you use a stencil like that. Now, I'm going to show you a different way. Of course, I got to let that dry because I'm going to put a heart on top of it, but that's wet. So I'm going to let that dry and I'm going to come over here. And I want to show you this way. That's the positive. Now this, I'll make a negative. Negative. So that means it won't have color. I'm going to put color on the outside. So I'm going to do this. I think I'll use maybe some red and then I'll do some blue. So I'm going to hold that in place. And if you want to tape it down a little bit, maybe take some tape underneath there and tape it so it won't move on you. Because right now it's going to move on me. So I'm going to be real careful. Now I have too much water on my brush. It's not very red. There you go. Remember, the amount of water makes a difference on how dark or light that color is when you're in watercolor. And I think while that's still wet, I'm going to come here and get some blue. I'll make it a purple. Always have paper towel, so if it's too wet, make sure you hold it in place. Okay. Now I might want to let it sit there for a minute. But once it's kind of dry, I'm going to lift it up. And there you go, there's the negative. So that's another way you can do your stencil. So there's a lot of options. And another thing, if you don't want to use the watercolor, maybe you want to do it all in, I don't know, maybe you want to do it all with crayon or colored pencils, then you can take these, either this or the heart, and you could just trace it and then color it in if you want to do it that way. So how you do it is kind of up to you.